Welcome, everyone. I am Emily from GoWP, for those of you who don't know me. And welcome to today's GoWP webinar with Noah Britton on how to close more sales and generate more leads. So we're really excited to have Noah on. We had him on a happiness hour call in our Niche Agency Owners Facebook group a couple weeks ago, talking about this topic a little bit. It was a wonderful conversation. So I highly recommend checking out that recording if you get a chance, if you're interested in kind of digging in a bit more to this topic after the webinar. But we can share a link to that later as well. So anyway, I just want to say a couple of quick words about GoWP in case anyone watching isn't familiar with us. So at GoWP, we create happiness for digital agencies and help them to become more profitable. So whether you're looking to grow your team, for that, we have dedicated developers, copywriters, project managers. We'll soon have designers. You can take our team members. We hire them full time and they become a member of your team 4 hours a week, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and help you to scale your agency. And if you're not quite ready to grow your team yet, we have our outsourced services. So things like done for you case studies, landing page build outs, which takes a PSD file and turns it into a fully functioning, fully responsive web page, maintenance, 24/7 support, all those sorts of things are designed to help you, the agency owner, scale your business. So if you have any questions about how GoWP can help you scale and grow your agency, please reach out. We're in the Facebook group. We're at GoWP.com, and you can reach out to me, Emily, at GoWP.com, and I'd be happy to have that conversation. So we're also, the other thing we do is we provide a community for agency owners. So we've got our GoWP Niche Agency Owners community on Facebook. It's a wonderful place to ask questions, learn, share your experience, get insights from those who have been there before. And also we have weekly happiness hour calls every Friday practically with some of the best minds in the business, such as Noah Britton, who was with us just a couple weeks ago, which basically is just free access to these people with amazing experience. And we love to get as many people on there as we can because your experience is important also. So that's in the GoWP Niche Agency Owners Facebook group, and we'll share a link to that as well. So we'd love for you to join us over there if you're not already a member. A few notes regarding the webinar. I'll be watching the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and we will get to them either during the webinar, or if something we don't get to during the webinar, we'll save it for the end with the Q&A. And also on Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, we will get any of your questions and comments over into the webinar as well. So please just throw them out there and we'll get them. We'll get them to Noah. So let's get to why we're here today, and that is Mr. Noah Britton. So since 2002, Noah has owned Thrive Design, which is a website agency based in Seattle. He focuses on client acquisition while his team delivers the goods. Sounds like the dream setup. He launched a course, Agency X-Ray, in 2021 to help other agency owners take control of their client acquisition efforts to focus their resources, land more deals, and save time and money. So thank you for changing your focus to that and helping out agency owners with all of your knowledge and experience, Noah. We're so excited to have you here today.
Yeah, I'm stoked. And I want to also give a +1 for the happiness hour. I've super been enjoying those. I mean, like Chris Lemma was on it the other week, and he just dropped some knowledge bombs on us. That was very, very awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's become kind of a joke because somebody I think saw on Clarity how much Chris charges per minute for those sorts of calls. And we get it free every Friday. He's on the call almost every week. So yeah, that's definitely a +1. April's good. We love having April on the call too. So yeah, they're great calls. So we love everyone who can join us.
Cool. Sweet. So yeah, I'm Noah at Thrive. We do WordPress websites. We're a full service website agency. But as Emily mentioned, I don't do any development or the design. I have a team for that. I handle the sales. My #1 job at Thrive is to get those sales into the company and basically close them. And so today I'm going to show you a system that I've developed to really track all those leads and to help me close those sales. A little bit of housekeeping here. So I just asked you to remove any distractions you have, your phone, extra tabs, etc. And really, you don't need to be taking notes because Emily's going to provide a recording of this. And actually, I'm going to be going pretty quickly through here and showing a lot of data on my screen. And if you aren't paying attention or seeing it, it's going to go by pretty quickly. So I'm also going to be asking some questions in the chat. So let's go over what's going to happen today, what we're going to be covering. So today is all about leads and sales and really data, and specifically tracking leads through a sales pipeline. So we get leads into our company and we need to close them, and we close them by taking them through some sort of a sales process. I mean, everybody has a sales process of some kind, be it get on a first call, have a second call, write a proposal, et cetera. And so there's a couple things we need to do as agencies to really be successful in our sales. And part of this is the tracking. Now, okay, so if I do this webinar correctly, you're going to walk away with it wholeheartedly agreeing that tracking leads through your sales pipeline and then analyzing this data to see what is and isn't working for your sales and your leads is critical to your business. You're going to have the basic concepts here and really a head start in setting up your own system or augmenting your existing system. So if you do this, if you set up a lead tracking and sales process system, if you really get all of this dialed in, you're going to increase your sales conversions. You're going to increase your confidence and your ease in those sales because you're going to be basically super organized and always knowing where you are with a lead in a sales process. You'll be able to easily identify the most profitable lead generation methods, right? Because we get leads from a lot of different ways into our companies. And if we know which ones lead to the best profit or have the lowest cost per acquisition or cost per lead, we're going to be able to adjust our lead generation and marketing efforts based on that data, but we have to actually have that data. So the system today is going to be kind of showing you that. So also, if you set up a system like this, you're going to be obviously more organized and just you'll have less stress because you always know where you are with your leads and your sales. And like I said, ultimately, you'll be able to make better data-driven decisions for your agency because you'll have the insights into what is and isn't working in your sales and your lead generation efforts. Okay, so today though is not discussing what are the best lead generation techniques out there or what are the best sales or marketing techniques, right? We're not talking really techniques today. It's about tracking and analyzing your own data based around your sales and your lead generation so that you can answer this question, right? Your company is your own, your process is your own. I'm going to be showing you a lot of things in Airtable today, but this isn't a webinar on Airtable. Airtable is just one tool and it's like super awesome, but we're going to be focusing more on the data. So I want to get a baseline from y'all. I want to know some things about you so I can see kind of where we are as companies, as individuals, freelancers, or agencies. So I'm going to ask for 5 pieces of data from you right now. So and I know you may not know these exact numbers, so just guesstimate them. And I'm going to put an example in the chat of some numbers here, some numbers and data into the chat. Okay, so here we go. So look at these numbers here. So these numbers, and I'd love for you to put these numbers in for you because I want to know where we're at, who is in the audience here. First number is the number of leads you've received in the last year, just the number of leads. And a lead is someone who you've communicated with that wants some sort of service from you. It's somebody who's called you, they've sent you an email, you've had some sort of a conversation. It's a lead. Number of leads in a year, that's the first number. The second number is what percentage of those leads were actually qualified, meaning you wanted to do business with them and you wanted to move forward with the project. So for me, I've had 104 leads in the last year. It's actually been quite a light year. And 47 of those were qualified. And the next number is the number of sales, right? Out of those 104 leads, I closed 14 of those into projects. The next item here is the top 3 sources of leads, right? So for me, my top 3 sources of leads are Google, Clutch, and actually existing clients who want to upgrade their website. And then finally, the last one is, where are you tracking this information? Right, I'm tracking an Airtable, but for you, where are you tracking like the number of leads that you get, what percentage of them are qualified, how many of those are sales, or just in general, where do you track your information about leads? So I'm just going to pause here and if you don't know, right, if you're like, maybe I get around 50 leads and maybe half of them are qualified, and I think I had around 10 sales, and I think I get most of mine from referrals, networking, and Google. and I store it in my head, and I store it in email, or I store it in Excel or HubSpot or whatever. So throw me a bone here, and anyone put in some of these numbers. And it could take a while for you to find that or know that, et cetera. But if you have anything over your top of your head, please put those in there. Oh man, this is rough. Sometimes we just don't know. We're looking them up. Yeah, there we go. And even just, I mean, Emily, what do you think here? I mean, is it really that? Yeah, it's challenging, right?
I think you're hitting on a really important aspect here, is that it can be really challenging to have these numbers like that unless you've taken the time to set up the system, right? And be able to say, oh yeah, I've had 85 leads over the last year, and 30% are from organic, 10% are from referrals, that sort of thing. And maybe you feel it, you know it, but to be able to have it and know where to look to get it.
How about people's gut feelings? How about people's gut feelings on just the top 3 numbers? Oh, here we go. We got a winner. 85 leads. Well, actually, so I'm not looking for the percentage of people that are finding it. It's the number of leads, then the number that are qualified of those, then the number of sales, and then just the top 3 sources of leads.
And
so
Noah,
Joanne,
how would you, sorry, I was going to say, how would you define that qualified lead? Because I imagine that could be pretty subjective.
Yeah, so qualified for me is I've had a conversation with them. We've discussed their project, and I'm like, I want to win this project. Like, I know they have the budget. The project sounds good to me. They're respecting my process, and I'm gonna move forward with writing a proposal with them. If they're playing ball. 75% are qualified, and then you close 75% of those. Great. So looking at those numbers here, I would guess you had about 40 clients April last. 45, 75 to 30, about 22 clients last year. Okay, perfect. All right. So these numbers can be a little scary, and one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you in 60 seconds at the end of this webinar how I can find all those numbers. I'll find all those numbers from my agency in 60 seconds. And I didn't have to do anything to my system to change to find the numbers. It was already set up that way. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so actually, April, same thing happened to me 4 years ago. I bought a business, and a lot of projects came from that too. So I feel you there. Jessica here, about 40 leads, right, for the last year. 75 were qualified, 75% were closed. No system for tracking at all. So you have some system, but it's basically your head and the emails that you have back and forth with the clients. Ashton here, 20 leads, 60% are qualified, 5 sales. Great. So you have a close rate of about 40% actually. Very good. Personal network, outbound email. Okay, got it. That's probably cold email. And then you track it in your project management tool. Ashton, I'd love to hear what PM tool it is, ClickUp or Asana, et cetera. I've actually done it in ClickUp before in my PM tool because I wanted it all in the same area. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. I love learning this stuff. I love learning just the baselines of where people are at. Okay, I'm about to get into my system here, but I have one more question. One quick question. And this is just about feelings. And Plutio, ClickUp, perfect. So what do you feel when you think about looking at data in a spreadsheet? Just put the feelings in there. For me, it's excited. That's my feeling. I get excited when I see data in a spreadsheet. Intrigued. Yeah. Joanne likes charts. All right, I'm just about to start sharing this here. Oh, pivot tables. Oh man, Emily, you like pivot tables? You are going to freak out when you see Airtable grouping. Yes. Okay, April, I hear you about the eyes glazing over. Okay. All right, here we go. We start sharing a screen here. Take a look at Airtable. We're taking a little bit slow. All right, let me just pop this in here. Okay, so what we're looking at here, it looks like a spreadsheet to me. It has rows, it has columns, It's a spreadsheet. It's a little bit of color coding and some other things too, but just imagine this is a spreadsheet where every single row here is a lead that's come into the business, and they have a bunch of different fields, such as the status, when they came into the company, et cetera. We're going to go through all these fields. But the great thing about Airtable, and I don't want to talk too much about Airtable, but I do have a total like app crush on Airtable, is grouping. So you talk about pivot tables, Emily. So I want to show you one thing here. So right now we're looking at, let's actually take a look at all the leads. I'm looking at, this is current leads. So let's look at all the leads. And this data, by the way, has been anonymized, has been, messed around with, because I don't want to, obviously I got to protect my leads and my clients. So here's all the leads, right? 185 leads that have come into a particular business. And we can group this data. I want to show you just one thing about Airtable. We can group it. So let's go ahead and group this by the lead source. Now, lead source is how this lead came into the agency. So as an example, it looks like 22 came in through cold email, right? You can see this right here, cold email, and 35 came in from clutch. So just very quickly, right, we can group this data to just pivot it in a certain way so we can look at the data a little bit differently. So let me turn that off. I just want to show it to you really quickly. And we can also, of course, these are rows, but you can open it up into a different kind of a view. So this is, oh man, this is a hard name here. From DavShots, the company DavShots, Yulin, there's all the fields you can look at in this format, right? So you can look at it as a row, you can look at it in this kind of format. There's a lot of different ways we can look at this data. Okay, so I'm actually going to start to get into each of these fields. And to do that, I'm going to first look at this current leads view. All right, let me just do a temperature check here and see how y'all are doing. If I can find the chat, here we go. All right, so hopefully your brains haven't exploded just by looking at all the colors and the data, et cetera, right? Because sometimes, like if I show this to my wife, she'd be like, she'd have to sit down somewhere else because her brain doesn't like looking at this kind of data, which is perfectly fine. It's just, this is what really works for me. So let me take a look at, let me show you some of the fields here. So these, again, all the leads that have come in to the business, and I store a lot of different fields about these leads. And the first and the most important field is the status. So I'm going to give you an exercise at the end of this webinar that you can use to really explore what your sales process is and define your sales process. But basically, everybody has a sales process. Like everybody, and I'll just show you mine really quickly. This is basically all the steps that I can take in a sales process. So I can send them a link to my scheduler. I can have a triage call, right? That initial call. Maybe they're supposed to be filling out my project form and I'm waiting on them to fill out that project form. Or I've scheduled a third call, or I'm writing a proposal, right? Like these are all the steps. And so I can quickly see, I wake up every morning and I go to my current leads tab and I say, these are all the leads and here's what their status is. So Jill, she's supposed to be filling out my project form. Whereas Jack here has the call to schedule the second call with us. So I'm just waiting on him to schedule that call. I can see exactly what's going on. I can see when that lead came into my company. I can see what the scope is for that project, right? So Bob here, they want a website, SEO, copywriting, and a logo. So if I ever have the question, God, what did Bob want? I can see it right there, right? And it's just so quick to set this stuff up. It's ridiculous how quick it is to enter in a new lead and update this information. Really important field here are the steps taken. And I say that because I record every major step I take, like I write a proposal, I have a Zoom call, like an initial Zoom call. I provide them with I offer them a strategy workshop. And I do that because later on, we're going to be able to track exactly where people fall off on our sales pipeline, on our sales process. Where are they dropping off? We're going to see the exact percentages. And what's crazy is we'll be able to see it based on how they found us. So let me step back for a second, because that might be a little bit too much to digest, but we're going to be able to see that in just a second. So another field here, a verbal estimate. So how many of y'all have been on a call and you've given an estimate to a lead and then you just forget what that estimate was? Like, oh, $20,000 to $30,000 or $5,000 to $6,000. So I just have a quick field here where I put down what that estimate was that I gave them, any kind of a verbal estimate for quick reference. Because I'll tell you, if Bob calls me and says, oh yeah, ready to move forward, how much was that again? Like even just the estimate, if I don't have that, I mean, seriously, I'm gonna look like such a fool, and it's gonna make me sweat and give me anxiety, and I don't want any of that. So I use this field here. And lead source, right? We always need to be asking our leads. We always must ask our leads how they find us. And sure, we could use Google Analytics to somehow get that information, but at the end of the day, we really just gotta ask them. So let me step back for a second, pause, and ask in the chat. So are y'all always asking people how they found you? And or is anybody actually, is anyone asking how people found them, how a lead found you, and then storing that information so that with 100% accuracy, like how these people are coming into your business? And I'm going to keep going while we're looking for that data. I want to keep going through these fields here. So again, we're tracking leads, right? We're tracking our leads, and we want to put information in here so we can identify opportunities, identify what is and isn't working in our sales process. And ultimately, we just want to be able to close these leads. We want to feel confident in our sales process. We want to be organized, and we want to just cut out the crap, like no chaos, right? There's no room for chaos. So there's enough imposter syndrome already with sales. Sales is hard enough without having to struggle to find things in emails and miss important dates and information. So if they fill my intake form, I'll fill it out here. I'll put the data in there for quick reference. If I've requested them on LinkedIn, I'll put that information here. Let me just hide this one. I actually have a whole bunch of other stuff where I'll say what the next step is with a lead, when that next step should happen, how many days it's been since I've interacted with that lead, a bunch of calculations to do that kind of stuff. But I'll show also who the decision maker is, of course, who the company's name in. So very basic stuff, right? Name, email, phone number, website, right? If the lead closes, I'll put in the close date so I can see how much time is it taking on average from the day a lead comes in to the day a lead closes. For me, it's 34 days. 34 days is my average. If a lead doesn't close, I'm always going to put why I lost them. Maybe the budget wasn't that good, or maybe they chose another agency. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities we can do down the road based on this information. I'll show you that in a bit. And then I'll put some little notes here of why they lost me, why I lost them, right? If I lost them because of budget and I know exactly what their budget ended up being, I'll put a little note there just for analyzing that data later on. Now, if anyone has taken WP Elevation, you'll know the scorecard. And I got this from Troy Dean. And it's really, it's the lead budget, the lead respect, and the project. So it's a 1 through 5 rating, right? When you talk to any lead, their budget is going to be somewhere between 1 through 5 as far as it's a good budget. And their project 1 through 5 is going to be good for your portfolio or good for your business or just something that you like to do. Like maybe you really like working on construction websites and it's good for your portfolio. It's part of your niche. So that'd be a 5. Whereas it was an e-commerce and you didn't do e-commerce, that would be a 1. And then of course, it's respect. How much are they respecting your process? How much they respect that you are the expert? And I just simply put these stars here and it calculates the 1 through 15 score, the ultimate score, 1 through 15 or 0 through 15. And really, I like to work with anybody that's 12 or above. Okay. And then I put them in my email campaign, right? I have a follow-up sequence, but I also, if they don't close, I just put them in an email sequence. And so I'll mark if I put them in the email sequence. I never have to like, oh, did I put Emily in the email sequence? I can just check right here. Or I could say, you know what? I don't want to add this person. Or I never had their email. That'd be a weird one. Or maybe I'm going to wait to add them. And I'll always put in the date that I added them to Drip. I'll put what my conversion guess is going to be, right? This is very helpful when you're looking at your sales pipeline and you're like, oh, well, I got 17 leads, but they're all 1s, right? Or a lot of them are 4s. You'll be able to see like, what do you think your workload's going to be? And then if there are multiple agencies bidding on a project, I'll just check this box right here. Okay, that was a lot of fields we just went through here. And I know it can be a little overwhelming to think about storing this kind of information. And what I would say is start really small, right? Like one of my keys to success is taking imperfect action. and just letting go of any idea of it has to be a complete and perfect system. Because whatever you create, whatever lead tracking system you create, it's going to change. It's going to iterate. It's going to improve. I mean, I'm changing mine. I change mine. I'm making tweaks at least once a week, a little tweaks here and there. So just get started with tracking your leads and tracking this data. And I'm going to show you some of the really, really great insights we can see here once we go through this data. Okay, let's just go through here. Okay, I'd love to get a temperature check. Thank you, April. Yes, see you on the replay. I'd like to get a temperature check here. Is this freaking anybody out? Is this exciting? Like, what are kind of the feelings around seeing this kind of data? I know we haven't dove into how we can use the data, because I'm going to show you the analytics and the metrics in just a second. That's like the super crazy power horse stuff. But I want to know how you all are feeling about seeing this data and the idea of storing it.
Yeah, I think this is really great stuff, Noah. I know we've got Bobby over on Facebook. He said that he's capturing referral sources through his lead capture form. Being able to see it like this is really incredible, and I can imagine it's a game changer if you don't have something set up. I know for us at GoWP, it's a constant work in progress, figuring out the best way to view it, right? So I know you have statuses there, and I imagine in Airtable you can probably do this as well, where you could maybe view like
Kanban.
Yeah, there you go.
Here we go. Here, let's do it. Let's do it. I call it the sales pipeline view.
There you go. Yeah,
and,
exactly.
You know, it's great because we can just, you know, drag the statuses, you know, back and forth. Because yeah, some people love this Kanban view. Yeah, great call. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, because the spreadsheet view could freak people out. But yeah, it's nice to be like, oh yeah, here we go. Dental care. You know what? Oh, second call is scheduled. Boom. And one thing I actually want to show too is adding this data. I mean, it's ridiculous. Watch this. So say you want to add a new lead. There's your form to do it. So you're literally get on a call with somebody. Lead's happening. You can just say, oh, all right, well, lead's happening right now. Here's the decision maker, Bobo. And whatever, and here's the lead source, right? Here's a scope. Oh, they want a website. Okay, sweet. Email, phone, status, right? You can enter it, and you can do this forms custom. So maybe you only put in 10 fields that you want to add each time. And the great thing about it is it works on your phone. Like one of the major complaints I have about certain CRMs is that when it comes entering in the data, it's too cumbersome. And so people just say, screw it. And they use their phone notes, or they just write things down, or they write themselves an email, or whatever crazy stuff is going on there. And it's really the fault of the tool, because the tool didn't make it easy enough to do it. The worst kind of system is one that you don't use. The best kind of system is the one you actually use. Same thing with tools. The best kind of tool is the one that you use.
So true. And it's so nice to have it visualized, because a lot of times if you haven't taken the time to visualize what's coming in, what your lead source is, you don't know what you don't know, right? And being able to see it, it kind of helps you put direction and structure to some of the things you're doing.
Yeah, and if you don't measure it, you can't improve it too.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like there's no insight. So like I was saying before, when I wake up in the morning, I open up my current leads view, and it's literally just all the leads that are still active. And I can see very quickly what the next step is, where they are on the pipeline, what they're looking for. And I'm like, hey, what was there to do today? How can I move forward things in my company today? Okay. All right, let's get really nerdy. Let's get into some of the insights into this data. So I mentioned that we're tracking all the steps taken, right? You can see all these steps taken here, right? So for example, for Amanda, we had a Zoom call, then a second Zoom call, and then I wrote a proposal, and then we reviewed that proposal over Zoom. That's for one lead. Now let's take a look at, for all the leads that have come in, where people are dropping off on the sales pipeline, sales process, right? Sales process, sales pipeline, same thing. Here's some more data. Okay, so what this is showing here is all the lead generation efforts that I have for my agency, and the number of leads that have come in, and then a bunch of other data about it. So for example, Google, I've had 37 leads come into my agency from Google. And it turns out that 32 of those actually hopped onto a phone call with me. So I have an 86% of people that come from Google hop on that first call. But oh, look at this cold email. Where are you, cold email? Boom. Okay, cold email. Only 63% of people hop on that first phone call of the actual leads that said they're interested. Literally, it's people that said, hey, I'm interested in your product. But only 63% got on that first phone call. So there's obviously something really going on with this cold email business. Now I'm tracking, like I said, we're tracking a lot of different steps here, right? So it's showing all those steps here. Here's the second call. So 48% of leads from organic only make it to that second call. Probably because I told them their budget's too small, or I was rude, or something like that. And then we have the number of proposals that were written, right? That's a huge one, right? Out of those 37 leads, how many did I write a proposal for? 15 of us, so 40%. That's actually a really high percentage. And this data is actually a little bit of fake data. It's not my real data, but it gives you an idea. We can see, like, for all these steps, like, where are they falling off, or where are the best leads coming from? Like, there's a high percentage of Google leads that we're writing proposals for. Obviously, they're high quality leads. So we're going to be able to make decisions on, well, you know what, I'm going to double my SEO budget. Okay, how many of them converted from the proposal, et cetera, right? So we can see that also, not only with the quality of leads from Google, but how many of them converted. And we can compare that to all the different lead generation methods here. And the thing is, like, this is automatically being calculated. And I say automatic because all I'm doing is I'm putting in lead source and then steps taken, and then every single other calculation is being created. Okay. Let's take a look at another. If you want to let's get even deeper into some data here. Let's take a look at money. So this is the same thing. It's all the different lead generation sources, the way I've gotten leads into my business. But I've also I have this other tab here called clients. So leads eventually become clients. And so I have another thing, which we'll be discussing at the next webinar next week, about clients. And we store a lot of information about clients. And part of what we store about clients is how much money their projects are bringing in. And once we have that, once we know the lead and the client information, the project numbers, we can see this kind of stuff. So for example, Google, 37 leads, 8 turned into sales. Here's the revenue that came in from Google. We can see like what our actual revenue is coming in from Google, which is going to tell us our sales, our profits, the cost per leads, right? Cost per sale. I mean, how many people here know their cost per lead or cost per sale for all their lead generation efforts? I mean, the only way you can get there is if you know with 100% certainty how people are finding you. So first of all, you got to track how they're finding you. And to do that, you really have to actually ask them. You can get it from a form, but sometimes they won't fill it in correctly. You can get it from Google Analytics sometimes, right? If you're using Google Analytics goals with your contact form, I do that a lot. But you also have to ask. You can see your profit margins. You can see recurring revenue that's come in, right? So recurring revenue is another thing I'm storing for my clients. How much recurring revenue, my care plan or my SEO plans, and we could then see all these numbers. And then finally, the granddaddy here is the acquisition percentage. So this basically is saying, for every dollar that I'm bringing in from this lead source, what percentage of that is going back to the marketing? So my goal is 10%. So basically, for every dollar that's coming in from organic SEO projects, I am spending 10 cents on the SEO efforts because I pay for SEO. I mean, it's internal costs, but it's all that. So, okay, that was some more fire hose stuff here, but I want to get some more temperature check on what it's like to see these numbers and this data, and what would it mean if you had these numbers? I mean, what if you could see exactly what lead generation is working and make adjustments to this? But maybe you are in BNI, or maybe you do networking. There's costs associated with that, and a lot of that cost is your time. So that'd be something you'd have to set up a little bit differently in your system, because your system you're going to set up here is going to be 100% your own. Emily, save me here. I'm rambling.
Yeah, no, what I love about this is how accessible all of the information is. I know I can't be the only one that struggles with having some of this data in one platform and some of this data in another platform, and not being able to figure out a way to access it. And that's where my Google Sheets come in, because I set up Zapiers and things like that to pull it all in. And that's why I've been forced to discover the magic of pivot tables, which have solved a lot of problems for me, but having it all in one place and accessible so that you can view it in these different ways, it's so powerful.
Yeah, so Ashton, he's given a great question here, saying is all your Airtable data entered in manually. So you may be getting at the revenue portion of it, and expand on it a little bit, Ashton, too. So say, for example, I sell a website for a certain amount of dollars. I invoice them via QuickBooks. They pay for it. I do not have a system to automatically move the QuickBooks money to Airtable because I do 12 projects a year. Instead, I literally copy and paste a number 12 times a year that says, here's the total project cost for that. So all the calculations are automatic, but the data that sources it, right? That's my real data. The only thing that actually comes in is the leads themselves, right? Somebody fills out a contact form on my website, it automatically goes into a lead. And I also have a thing here too, where when a lead becomes a client, I check a box and it moves it to the client table. But yes, I don't do a bunch of Zapier integration with the exception of the initial lead coming in. I don't integrate with QuickBooks because basically automation can be great, but it's got to be at major volume for it to be worth it. I am a true believer in having a single source of data, but only if it doesn't make my life crazy. Like the automation for QuickBooks would be like ridiculously complicated. Instead, I can just copy and paste this as a $22,000 project, and then all the calculations are automatic from there. Great freaking question, though. That's a great question. Yeah, and Joanne, yeah, networking, yeah, definitely, right. There's a cost, right? There's a cost for everything. Like cold email even had a cost, right? I had to have lem list, I had to buy a list. Now, they didn't work out. The cold email for me personally didn't work out at all. But yeah, there's a cost pretty much for everything. There's no free lunches, right? Okay, we're kind of wrapping up here. I'm going to get a Q&A pretty soon here, but oh man, let me show you a couple opportunities. So we looked at the data so we can make better business decisions on how we're doing our sales, right? Because we can see where they drop off, how we do our lead generation, because we see what lead generation is successful. But there's also ways to find opportunities using this data. And let me give you a couple examples here. Let's go into, let's actually go into, I'm just gonna do it manually. You know, this by manual, I mean, is we have all the data here, but what if I can just look at the data in a couple of different ways? So I'm actually gonna filter this data, and I'm gonna say, all right, show me all the records. If I could type where the status is lost, all right? So I didn't win them, but the why lost is chose another company. Okay, right? That didn't take me very long, and I could save this as a view for later on, saying chose another company. And let's see here. Maybe I'm going to move the lead started date to the beginning here. All right, and I'm going to then sort it by lead start date. Okay, so these are all the leads that didn't go with us, went with another company. And you know what? I could even go into here and say, all right, let's do another one where the lead start date, right? The date that it came in is sometime this year. Oh wait, this data is super old. Okay, so these are all the leads that started last year, and they didn't go with us. We could then go to their websites and see if they're refreshed. And and it's been more than 6 months, right? We could then call the company and be like, hey, I heard you had a new project. You went with that agency over there. Well, how'd that go? That's an opportunity, right? That's an opportunity. You could also go into here and say, okay, well, what are the leads that I've put into my my email campaign that needed an SEO service, right? That's another one. Here we go. So we're going to say, all right, where I put them in drip, yes, and they wanted, let's just say they wanted a website. Okay, all the people in my email system that wanted a website, because maybe I have this really awesome lead magnet I want to send them, or maybe I have this really awesome website offer I want to send them, right? We can use it to segment our audiences as far as leads that didn't close to communicate with them on a more effective level. Instead of storing that data in an email system, which would be ridiculous because there's so many fields here, we store it here, and then we use that data in our email system for our email marketing. So hopefully y'all can see the power in some of that. And I just made that one up. I mean, there's so many different combinations of ways we can use this data to follow up with old leads. And when we talk about clients next week, we're going to talk about all the different ways that we can use the information for opportunities with your existing clients. Okay, we talked about making better business decisions with our data. We talked about opportunities using our data. Man, do I have anything else here? Well, I'll tell you what, there is one more thing. Let me show you in 60 seconds. All right, let me just go to all leads. Okay, this is all the leads. I'm gonna get all this out of here. Remember I talked about we wanted to figure out how many leads we've had in the last year, and how many of those were qualified, and then how many of those closed, and the top 3 lead sources. Okay, you know what? And I'm going to use my real data here. So no BS in here. This is my real data. I'm just kind of hiding the information here. So, okay, let's figure it out. Let's do 60 seconds. So show me all leads where they came in the last year. Okay, 104 of those. And now show me all the ones where they are qualified. There we go, 49. Oh, I had 49. Maybe I changed a couple of those. So 49 of those. And then, how many of them closed? So let's also show the status where it's where I won. There's 10 of them. Okay. I don't know what I was looking at my data for. I think I data look a little bit differently there. And then top 3 lead sources. Okay, this one, Emily, you're going to like, because we're going to take off the filters here. And then we're going to group it by the lead source and see what are the top 3 sources of leads here. Oh, I messed up where it's been in the last year. That's where I messed up. Is after 10/4/2020. Okay, so looks like we have 22 from Clutch. See right here, 22 leads that have come in from Clutch. Again, this is my real data. Ooh, we gotta hide this data here. Easy now. And 32 came from Google, although 7 of them are Google Maps. So really 39 from Google, 22 from Clutch, and then agency referrals is 8. Okay, cool. Hopefully that was quick enough for y'all. And then current leads, current clients is 8. All right, so I'm gonna step back for a second. And yeah, that's my data, right? I wanted to show you my real numbers, right? To show you that I'm not BSing as far as how I'm tracking this and how easy it is to really look at the data once you set it up properly. But it's all about actually using this system, right? The only reason this works for me is I use the system. And I know the value of it. Like once I started using this, I've been doing this for years, right? I've been tracking leads in a very simple way for like 15 years. And the system has gotten better and better and better. And so I create Agency X-Ray as a way to share this with other people. And the course, like it includes the template, includes all these videos on how leads and clients and all this work. And so today I just wanted to show you a little love on how we're doing leads here.
No, that has been so helpful. One question I have, what would be your advice? Like we said at the beginning of this webinar, you've been doing the agency business for a long time. You're well established. You have lots of leads coming in. What would you say to the agency owner who's not as established, who maybe doesn't have 100 leads in a year and that sort of thing? Why should this be important to them?
Yeah, great question. And one of these you need to know is what works and doesn't work, regardless of the number of leads. And the more you get data, like the larger the data set, the more valuable the insights are, right? If you only have 10 records to compare to, and say 2 closed from Google, like that could be a total fluke. Like one number could change that. But once you actually store this data, you can then keep looking at it, and it gets more valuable. You do it, and really it keeps you on track. Like, this isn't just about analyzing the data to change your business. It's to keep your sales process on track, and really it's to force you to have a sales process. Like, if you start tracking what your sales process is, and you don't actually have a sales, you're gonna find out really, really quickly that you don't have a sales process. And it's ways for the confidence too. Like I know, even if I have only 3 leads to work on, like I wake up in the morning, or even just 1 lead, I know where they're at. I wake up and my brain is fresh. I'm a big believer in it. I don't trust memory. I think memory is the enemy. Memory is very subjective. It's proven to really just change on a whim. And our scarcity mindsets can cause and imposter syndrome can cause all sorts of issues when it comes to pricing, or what we told somebody, or what we're going to do, or what our process is, or sticking to our process. We make all these exceptions, but if we actually regiment it in a system and always iterate and improve on it, it made a huge difference for me. And really, it's only the last 2 years that I've been like hyper focused on this type of a system. That's why my data only really goes back 2 years. As far as the really, but you start with 4 fields. You start with 4 fields besides their name and email and phone number and website. That's the basic stuff. If you start with 4 fields today, it's going to make a difference. First, how they found you, right? You got to have how they found you, and you got to have their status, the steps they've taken, and then what they want. If you have those 4 things, then down the road, you're going to be able to see what lead generation efforts work. You're going to be able to see what steps people are falling off on your sales pipeline. And you're going to be able to just really see the status. Like, always see the status. There's nothing better for me is like, where are all my leads? Like, I don't want to hunt through emails. There's no way I'm going to be like, oh yeah, what'd they say last time? Where are they in the process? I can't live that life. I mean, I did live that life, but and once you get to like 10 leads a month, like if you don't have a system like this, you're just inviting chaos into your life. Yeah, I would say this is definitely more useful the more leads you have, right? It does, but as you build it, as you get more and more and more, the data becomes more useful too.
And I would say, I think that's a great answer. And I would say that the one thing in that answer that stuck out to me the most is documenting the process, right? So that you have a process to follow. It helps you scale your business. It helps you scale your growth. It empowers you to be more efficient in your sales and just more at peace with where things are and how things are going in general.
And I have an exercise for y'all that I'll put at the end here that'll help you define your sales process and to help you define the fields that you could store if you want to set this up yourself. And again, you don't need Airtable for this, but Airtable is so freaking sweet. And they just got $270 million in Series E funding. They're a $5 billion company. Like, Google is changing their own sheets because of the things Airtable is doing, but they're not going to be able to catch up. I swear, Airtable is so cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see the worksheet. And you mentioned it a bit earlier, but you have a course on this as well, which you are being very generous in offering a discount to our community on that. So we'll talk about that in a second. And also, Noah will be back next week to discuss profit margin and project build out and that sort of thing as well. So he's going to talk through his process on
clients. And clients is like clients and how to manage your care plan using this kind of a system, how to understand like your profit margins. Yeah, all that. We're getting into that tomorrow.
Next week we'll be going over that. But yeah, Noah, tell us a bit about your course and what you're offering our community.
Yeah, so we have basically my course goes over 4 main modules, and today we covered some of the lead tracking and some of the problem. Let me just go through the 4 modules. So I show you how to track leads through a sales pipeline, which is what we talked about today. I talk about clients, like how to manage your client information, how to manage your care plan information. Like, I have about 80 fields I store about clients. It's how to find opportunities with your clients, how to upsell, how to check your pricing. The third thing is actually pricing around your projects, your profit margins, et cetera. And the fourth is around the lead generation, some of the things I talked to you today. Now, some of the course is actually teaching you the how of this, right? It does include a course on Airtable, an advanced course on Airtable as well. But the course itself is not about Airtable. It's really about the how and the why, and like why we should store this kind of stuff, how you can use it. And it also includes the Airtable base that I use, the full base, right? All the reporting, like all the tabs. What I'm going to share with you today, give you a download for just a very basic, just the lead, because I want people to just start, right? I want people to at least start, even if they don't, do my course or whatever. I want them to start tracking some basic information. So I give you a template with Airtable, has about 12 of the fields to get you started. And yeah, we're doing $60 off for that. Usually it's $200. We're doing 30% off, so it's $140 for that, for the course and the template and the Airtable course, etc. And actually, I want to talk a little bit about tools and systems and processes. Like there's a hierarchy of things here. Like I think our success when it comes to really anything, there's really 4 factors, I think. There's the tools we use, there's the systems we put into place, there's the processes we have to run our business, and then it's us and our knowledge. And it's really a reverse hierarchy of what I think is important. Like I think our knowledge of how we do things, our own individual knowledge that we've generated, our own individual like personality and like follow through is the most important factor in the success of anything. And the second is actually setting up processes using our knowledge, like our knowledge of how we do things around here, how we do things in our business is our processes. And the next thing that's important is really putting that into a system, like some sort of a system that manages all those processes. That's a single source of data. And that is being put together using a tool. Airtable or HubSpot or Excel or sticky notes or your brain. There's some tools being used to create these systems, but I try to coach people on not focusing so much on the tool, right? Because a tool is just whatever. It's like, yes, Airtable is all sweet and good, but it's nothing compared to the knowledge we have about our processes and what works for us. Because yeah, so does that kind of make sense? Like I see a lot in the Facebook groups of people be like, hey, what's the best tool for this? And what's the best? It's like, the best tool is the one you're going to use. Focus on your own knowledge, focus on your own processes. Like that's where you spend most of your money is on your own knowledge.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that mantra so much. And it's something we practice at GoWP. We always like to do things manually for some time before going out and looking for a tool to do it, right? Just to make sure we know it inside and out, forwards and backwards, right? We know exactly what's going into it. And then that empowers you to find the tool that's going to fit anyway, instead of fitting what you want to do into the box of the tool, finding the tool that fits your box. Yeah.
That is exactly it. And knowing our process and mapping out our process, like how do we do things around here when it comes to developing a website? Like what are the processes we do, or what are the processes in our sales process? Before we get into like the PM tool, like actually map out what are the 7 steps for our projects, or what is the 14 things we do for a set a website live? Like get that stuff straight, because the tool is just the after. For me, it's the after. I use ClickUp, right? I use ClickUp for my project management. We use Airtable for anything data related. I use QuickBooks for my accounting. I use Better Proposals for my, but all that is again, secondary to what's actually going into those tools. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, Noah, thank you so much. Where can people go to find the template and your course? We shared the link to the discount there, so people can check that out. Is that also where they find the template, or?
I got a couple links for you here. Going to put into the chat. So we have an exercise to map out your sales process and to think about your leads. Sorry, think about your fields for your lead tracker. And that is right there.
Oh, wonderful.
And this next link is going to be a download for a simple version of the lead tracker, just that first column the first table that we looked at within the Airtable base. So it's going to be a full Airtable. It's going to have, I don't know, maybe 15 fields or so. I implore anyone that is not tracking this information to use that template right away to start tracking it. Oh yeah, so Clutch. Okay. So Clutch actually isn't a tool. Clutch is a directory. It's a directory of agencies. And they're killing it. Like you type in like web design Houston or SEO services Seattle or whatever, you're going to find Clutch in the top 3. And it's just a list of directories of agencies. So let me there you go, clutch.co. Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much. And it's a major source of my leads. I'm actually going to be developing a course on how to, somebody talked me into it the other day, on how to optimize your Clutch profile. It's like, Clutch is amazing and it's very deep and there's sponsorships, but again, it's my second source of leads in the last year, but more importantly, it's the number one source of sales. So the not only is Google and Clutch my top two sources of leads, but they're my best leads. Strangely enough, my best leads, the highest profit, the highest like dollar amounts for projects, and the best people are from Google and Clutch. It's also the worst, but the ones that convert are also the best. So if that makes any sense, right? There's a real high and a real low when it comes to both of those.
It does, and I know a lot of agencies within our community get great leads from Clutch, and I've been hearing about it more and more frequently as well. So that's, if you're not aware, if you haven't checked that out, definitely check that out.
Yeah, and
it's great to see that it's being productive for you too. Yeah, that's right. You talked about this in the happy hour.
And I sponsor on two different lists, like $150 a month to be, because I spend a lot of money on marketing. I'm like $150 a month to be listed here on higher on these lists because I get so many traffic. I mean, I get about 204 visitors from my 200. I mean, I say about, I get 204 visitors per month to my website, and the leads that come in, yes, it's really good.
And so if you know that those are qualified leads that have a high conversion rate, why not put them? That's why you have that information, to know where to invest your money and your efforts.
I doubled my budget in February exactly because I was like, well, these are great. I'm actually going to do it again. I'm going to double it again because it's just, it's just so awesome.
It makes sense. Ashton's asking, how would you compare Airtable with a traditional CRM? He's guessing it's more setup time and doesn't send emails to those leads.
Yeah, great question, right? So stuff like HubSpot or Dubsabo, I think is another one where it integrates, you actually bring in the emails, right? And it does all sorts of like automation stuff. Those can be super awesome, right? Like those can be really great. What I like about Airtable specifically is that I can customize it for my own use in ways that I can't in these other systems. So like if you saw those reporting, those calculations and stuff, I will pay you big money if you could do that in that same way in HubSpot or Dubsabo, et cetera. I actually, please do it. And then let's compare notes and stuff. I'll give you a free course I'll give you my free course for free, and we can look at how you did it in there too. But yeah, I have not been able to customize it in that way. Airtable is just crazy. It has automations and it's like integrations and, but you know what? Those tools actually can be a really good head start as well, as long as you don't need the big calculation stuff. So I just pick a tool and get started. Really. I mean, if you get one for free too, it's more about what you're tracking, why you're tracking it, and then using that data to change your business. They don't track data just for data's sake. You must use that data to make better decisions for your business.
Absolutely. I love that, Noah. And to your point, we use ActiveCampaign, and I can't maneuver around in the reporting as quickly as you're able to do that in Airtable. It can be frustrating sometimes because I know all of that information is in there because we've created, the custom fields for it to be there and all of that. But yeah, it's pretty impressive what you can do with Airtable there. That was really cool to see. Yeah. I think that we're at 1:30 now, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you so much, Noah, for your time today, for sharing your processes, for sharing your Airtable and how you have that set up. And we really look forward to seeing you again next week to talk about client management, care plans, projects, profit margins, all that great stuff, and how you're managing that as well. Can't wait for that.
Yummy. I love this stuff.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for your time today, and we will see you next week. And if you're watching the recording, remember, you can catch all the comments and things like that in the Facebook group. We've shared all the links in there as well. So you have all of that available in perpetuity, except for when Facebook crashes, which never is going to happen.
Oh,
right?
Thank goodness the webinar wasn't yesterday. Oh my gosh. Oh, that would have sucked.
Right. Yep. So we're live on Facebook too. So you can check out the recording there with all the links. And I will send them to all the people who registered in an email later on this week. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Cheers.